Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in your life when noise must die down, when chatter has to fade, when you no longer need to explain what God is doing in your life. You just have to move in silence, because when your heart is anchored in purpose, your silence speaks louder than your words ever could. You see, we live in a world that's addicted to validation. Everyone wants to be seen, heard, and applauded. But true greatness doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't beg for attention. It simply builds in the background, brick by brick, until one day the world looks up and says, "Where did that come from?" Success doesn't come when you're chasing attention. It comes when you're chasing discipline. When you learn how to stay quiet in a world that can't stop talking, you unlock a sacred kind of power, the power of focus, because focus is the birthplace of destiny. Every dream, every empire, every vision started in silence. Before the applause, there was obscurity. Before recognition, there was rejection. Before the celebration, there was consecration. You have to learn how to be okay being unseen for a season so you can be unstoppable for a lifetime. When you stay silent, you start hearing things others miss. You hear divine direction. You hear wisdom whispering. You hear clarity forming in the chaos. While everyone else is running in circles, you're aligning yourself with purpose. That's what focus does. It filters out the noise and tunes you into the frequency of your future. But silence is not weakness. Don't confuse being quiet with being passive. Silence is strategy. Silence is strength. While your critics are gossiping, you're growing. While they're talking about your past, you're working on your promise. While they're wasting time comparing, you're preparing. Stay focused, because distraction is the enemy of elevation. The higher you rise, the more noise you'll hear trying to pull you back down. You can't answer every bark when you're on your way to becoming a lion. You can't respond to every opinion when you're busy building a legacy. Your focus is your fortress. Protect it with everything you have, and then when you least expect it, success will find you. It'll come searching for the one who stayed consistent when no one was clapping. It'll come running toward the one who planted seeds in private, because success doesn't chase the loud, it chases the loyal. So stay silent when they doubt you. Stay focused when they distract you. Stay faithful when it gets difficult. Your silence is your strength. Your focus is your weapon, and your success will be your voice. We live in a generation that confuses noise with influence. Everyone wants to talk, to post, to argue, to prove a point. True power doesn't live in the loud. It lives in the stillness. Silence isn't the absence of words, it's the presence of wisdom. It's the ability to hold back what could be said in favor of what needs to be done. It's not passivity, it's precision. It's not cowardice, it's control. When you learn that silence is a strategy, everything changes, because silence is not what people think it is. It's not about staying quiet out of fear, it's about staying quiet out of focus. You don't speak because you're afraid of conflict. You stay silent because you've already chosen peace. Challenge you to love enough and care enough. You don't respond because you're weak. You hold your tongue because you're building something that words could never protect. Silence is the art of restraint, and restraint is a mark of maturity. Anyone can react, but not everyone can respond with wisdom. The weak argue, the strong observe. The immature fight to be heard, but the mature understand that not every battle deserves your breath. Sometimes your silence screams louder than any defense you could ever offer. Sometimes your lack of response tells the world you've outgrown the need for approval. Silence is not retreat, it's redirection. Means you are choosing to pour your energy into growth rather than gossip, into progress rather than petty debates. While others are wasting their strength trying to be seen, you are conserving yours for the moment that truly matters. Because when you understand the strategy of silence, you stop chasing validation and start cultivating vision. There's a quiet power in knowing who you are. You don't need to broadcast your every move because you're secure in your purpose. You don't need to convince anyone to believe in you because you already believe in yourself. Silence becomes your language, and peace becomes your response. The loudest voice in the room isn't always the one that wins. It's often the one that listens. Listening allows you to learn. Listening allows you to discern. And discernment is the weapon of the wise. In silence, you gain clarity. You see what others miss because you're not distracted by noise. You start to recognize patterns, motives, and truths that are hidden beneath the chaos. You begin to hear your inner voice again, the one drowned out by the opinions of others. You hear the whisper of wisdom guiding you where to step next. That's why silence is sacred. It's where you reconnect with purpose, recalibrate your direction, and remind yourself who you are. Silence also protects your peace. The moment you stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided not to understand you, you reclaim your power. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not everyone should be allowed to pull you into their storms. Silence draws boundaries. It tells the world, I'm not available for drama. I'm busy building. It's a filter that separates the serious from the superficial, the faithful from the foolish. There's a reason why successful people value silence. They know that big moves are made in quiet seasons. The seeds of greatness grow underground, where no one can see them. The foundation of every empire is laid in silence, where the noise of the crowd cannot interfere. When you're silent, you're not hiding. You're developing. You're crafting something the world isn't ready to see yet. And when the time is right, silence transforms into sound. Not the sound of words, but the sound of results. The kind of sound that can't be denied. People may not have heard you planning, but they'll hear your success speaking. They may not have seen you preparing, but they'll see your fruit shining. Silence allows you to surprise those who underestimated you. It lets your actions reveal what your words could never explain. But silence also tests you. It's not easy to stay quiet when you're misunderstood. It's not easy to stay calm when you're provoked. It's not easy to hold your tongue when your reputation is attacked. Yet silence in those moments is the ultimate display of strength, because it means you trust that truth will defend itself. You trust that time will reveal what lies cannot hide. You trust that the same God who gave you the vision will handle the vindication. Silence teaches humility. It reminds you that you don't have to control everything or everyone. You can let go of the need to respond, and in doing so, you rise above the chaos. You stop reacting emotionally and start moving intentionally. You stop letting others dictate your peace and start owning your response. Silence empowers you to walk away from nonsense without losing your dignity. It's the difference between reacting in the moment and responding with purpose. Every great leader, every visionary, every world changer has had to master the strategy of silence. They've had to learn when to speak and when to stay still, because words spoken too early can sabotage what patience would have perfected. Silence gives space for growth. It allows your thoughts to mature, your plans to solidify, your faith to deepen. In silence, you learn timing, and timing determines impact. So don't mistake silence for surrender. It's not that you've given up. It's that you're gearing up. You're gathering strength, building wisdom, and preparing your next move. The lion doesn't roar when it's hunting. It moves silently, strategically, powerfully. That's how victories are won, not through noise, through precision. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them misunderstand. Because while they're wasting words, you're writing destiny. While they're speaking of what they think you are, you're becoming what they can't even imagine. Your silence isn't empty. It's loaded with purpose. Every quiet moment is a step closer to what you've been working for. In the end, silence is not about being voiceless. It's about being wise enough to know when your voice will have the most impact. You're not being silent forever. You're simply choosing the right time to speak. When you finally do, your words will carry the weight of patience, wisdom, and authenticity. So hold your peace, guard your focus, let silence work for you, because the one who learns to move in silence eventually becomes the one the world can't stop talking about. The loud may make noise for a moment, but the quiet build legacies that last generations. Remember, silence is a strategy, not weakness. It's the invisible armor that shields your purpose. It's the discipline that separates the distracted from the destined. Stay silent not because you're scared, but because you're strategic. Stay silent not because you're defeated, but because you're developing. Your silence doesn't mean you're done. It means you're preparing to begin. We live in a time where attention has become the new currency. Everyone wants to be seen, to be noticed, to be acknowledged. People are chasing likes, views, followers, and applause like their worth depends on it. Everywhere you look, the world screams for attention. Look at me, hear me, validate me. Yet, in the loud chase for recognition, very few understand that attention is fleeting, but discipline builds forever. You can attract all the attention in the world and still remain unfulfilled if there's no structure behind the spotlight. Because attention might open doors, discipline keeps them open. Attention can give you a moment, but discipline gives you a lifetime. Attention makes people look at you. Discipline makes people respect you. Success is not seduced by applause, it's built on commitment. It doesn't care about how many people are watching, cares about how consistent you are when nobody is. The truth is, the world loves spectacle, but success loves structure. People want to go viral, they don't want to grow roots. They crave recognition, but they neglect repetition. Yet every masterpiece, every innovation, every great destiny has always been born out of the quiet grind of discipline. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. It's showing up when the excitement fades. It's choosing consistency over comfort, purpose over pleasure, and long-term growth over short-term gratification. Attention gives you moments of excitement, but discipline gives you years of excellence. We've mistaken popularity for purpose. Popularity without discipline is a house built on sand. It looks good from the outside, but the moment a storm comes, it collapses. Discipline, however, is the foundation that keeps your purpose standing when the winds of life blow. The disciplined don't crumble, they evolve. They don't chase the spotlight, they build systems that make them unstoppable. The world glorifies attention because it's easy to consume but hard to sustain. Fast food for the soul tastes good for a moment but leaves you empty soon after. Attention gives you dopamine, discipline gives you development. Attention feeds your ego, discipline feeds your character. And character will take you where charisma cannot. Many people confuse being seen with being successful, but success is not about being seen, it's about being significant. It's not about how loud your name echoes today, it's about how long your legacy lasts tomorrow. Attention fades when trends change, but discipline keeps you relevant through every season. People who achieve greatness are not the ones constantly chasing applause. They're the ones mastering the boring parts of the process. They are the ones who wake up early, plan their days, stay consistent, and keep pushing even when nobody claps for them. Because they understand something the world often forgets: attention can make you famous. Discipline makes you fire effective. Discipline is the silent architect of success. It builds habits that shape destiny. It turns dreams into routines and routines into results. You don't become great by accident. You become great through intentional effort, sustained over time. It's not what you do once in a while that changes your life. It's what you do daily, even when it's hard. When you're disciplined, you don't wait for motivation. You create momentum. You don't depend on others to push you. You push yourself. You don't need constant applause because your purpose is louder than the crowd's silence. That's when success begins to chase you, because success is attracted to consistency, not chaos. Attention can come from luck, but discipline is a choice. You can stumble into fame, but you can't stumble into mastery. You can buy followers, but you can't buy self-control. You can fake confidence. You can't fake commitment. Discipline is what keeps you grounded when life tests your patience. It's what keeps your feet moving when the world tells you to quit. It's what keeps your fire burning when the crowd walks away. The world glorifies those who make noise, but true greatness often grows in silence. The disciplined are not busy being noticed. They're busy building. They don't need to prove themselves because their work proves them. They understand that applause can be addictive, but consistency is transformative. The noise fades, but the results remain. Attention will always tempt you. It will whisper, look at what they're doing. Don't you want to be seen too? But the wise understand that real success is built in seasons of obscurity. The stage is not the place where you grow. It's where you reveal what you've already grown in private. Discipline is the invisible preparation behind visible success. It's easy to post about dreams. It's hard to wake up every day and work for them. It's easy to talk about goals. It's hard to stay committed when the journey feels long. But that's what separates dreamers from doers, the discipline to continue when excitement disappears. Attention is a sprint, discipline is a marathon. One gives you speed, the other gives you stamina. You might gain attention overnight, but discipline builds something that lasts beyond the night. That's why many rise quickly and fall just as fast, because they built their name on noise, not on principles. When you choose discipline, you choose a higher standard. You train your mind to focus on what matters instead of what's trending. You understand that the goal is not to be liked, but to be very lasting. The disciplined don't perform for people, they perform for purpose. They don't need applause to confirm their worth because their work already speaks it. Every great artist, athlete, leader, child visionary you've ever admired was built on a foundation of discipline. Their brilliance wasn't born overnight. It was carved through daily devotion. It was refined through repetition, sharpened by sacrifice, and fueled by consistency. They didn't chase fame, they chased mastery, and mastery, in time, brought them the recognition they deserved. You can't microwave destiny. You can't shortcut greatness. The easy route gives you attention. The hard route gives you authority. When you choose discipline, you're choosing the long road, the one filled with growth, patience, and purpose. It's not glamorous, but it's glorious in the end, because what's built slowly lasts longer, and what's built with discipline stands taller. Tension makes you loud for a season. Discipline makes you legendary for a lifetime. So don't chase being seen, chase being solid. Don't chase applause, chase alignment. Don't chase fame, chase focus. Because when discipline becomes your lifestyle, success becomes your shadow. It will follow you wherever you go. So stay steady, stay consistent. Don't let the noise of the world distract you from your purpose. The world glorifies attention, but success, true, lasting success, only bows to those who are disciplined enough to deserve it. Let others chase the spotlight. You chase the standard. Because when your foundation is built on discipline, you won't need the world to notice you. Your work will make the announcement for you. Every great story, every legacy that changed the world, every life that became a light for others started in obscurity. It started in the shadows, in silence, in seasons when no one was watching, no one was applauding, and no one believed anything significant was happening. But that's where greatness is born, not in the spotlight, but in the stillness, not in recognition, but in preparation. We live in a world that celebrates visibility. People crave the stage, the platform, the applause. They want the ending without enduring the beginning. Yet the truth is, there is no crown without obscurity. Every dream that shines bright one day first survives seasons of darkness. Before the fruit appears, the seed must be buried. Before the name is known, the person must be hidden. Obscurity is not punishment, it's preparation. It's the sacred workshop where character is built, vision is refined, and strength is forged. The problem is, many people mistake obscurity for failure. They think that being unseen means being forgotten. They feel that if no one is clapping, they must be doing something wrong. But in reality, obscurity is where God hides his greatest treasures. It's where he separates you from distractions, where he protects your purpose until it's mature enough to handle exposure. Because what the world calls hidden, heaven calls in progress. Every masterpiece begins as an unseen draft. Every leader begins as a learner. Every breakthrough begins as a battle in the dark. The season of obscurity is the training ground of destiny. It's where you learn endurance, humility, and faith. It's where your motives are purified. Because in obscurity, you're not performing for people, you're preparing for purpose. No one is watching, so you have to be honest about why you're doing what you're doing. Are you doing it for applause, or are you doing it because you're called? Obscurity tests your heart. It strips away your ego. It makes you confront yourself. There's no audience to impress, no validation to cling to, just you, your purpose and your commitment. That's where the real growth happens. You can fake passion in public, but you can't fake persistence in private. Unseen hours reveal your authenticity. They show whether you truly believe in what you're building or whether you're only interested in being seen doing it. When you're in obscurity, it's easy to feel overlooked. But you're not being overlooked, you're being developed. Foundation of a skyscraper is dug deep before it ever rises high. That digging process is uncomfortable. It's slow, it's silent, and it's often painful. The deeper the foundation, the taller the structure can rise. Likewise, the depth of your obscurity determines the height of your destiny. If you rush the foundation, the future will collapse. But if you let patience perfect you, you'll stand strong when the world finally sees you. Obscurity also protects you from premature exposure. Too many people want to be seen before they're ready. They crave the spotlight before they built the stamina to stand under it. But exposure without preparation leads to exhaustion. What looks like delay is often divine protection. Sometimes the reason doors aren't opening is because you're still being equipped for what's behind them. The light of success can burn those who haven't been strengthened in the shadows. Every great story has a hidden chapter. Think of any visionary, artist, or leader you admire. Their beginnings were never glamorous. They had nights of uncertainty, seasons of obscurity, moments when they questioned if it was all worth it. But they stayed faithful to the process. They showed up when nobody noticed. They gave their best when there was no audience. And one day, the unseen became undeniable. That's the power of obscurity. It builds quiet warriors who rise when the world least expects it. In obscurity, you learn discipline without applause. You develop skills without recognition. You cultivate wisdom without validation. You learn to depend on something deeper than approval. You learn to depend on purpose. That's why obscurity isn't a curse. It's a blessing in disguise. It's the season that refines your resilience. It teaches you how to keep believing when you see no results, how to keep working when no one's watching, how to keep growing when nothing seems to move. Those lessons can't be learned in the spotlight. They can only be taught in the shadows. Sometimes the silence of obscurity can feel suffocating. You pray, you work, you give, and yet no one sees. You start wondering if you're wasting your time. Every hidden season has an expiration date. No seed stays buried forever. The darkness that covers you is not your grave. It's your greenhouse. You're not being buried to die. You're being planted to grow. And when the right time comes, what was growing quietly underground will burst forth for the world to see. Obscurity humbles you, but it also strengthens you. It forces you to rely on faith more than feedback. It teaches you that your worth is not measured by who knows your name, by how deeply you're rooted in your purpose. It prepares you for the weight of visibility, because success without depth is dangerous. Many people crumble under the pressure of success because they never learned how to stand strong in obscurity. Those who have been shaped in silence can handle the noise of success with grace. Every great story begins with someone who dared to believe even when no one else did, someone who kept writing, building, dreaming, praying, preparing, while the world looked the other way. They didn't let obscurity discourage them. They let it define them. They understood that greatness is not about being seen, but about being very ready. They kept working in the dark until their moment came, and when it did, they didn't just appear, they arrived. If you're in a season of obscurity right now, don't despise it. Embrace it. Let it shape you. Let it teach you patience, humility, and perseverance. Use this time to grow deeper, wiser, and stronger, because one day, the same world that overlooked you will look up to you, and they'll wonder how you rose so suddenly. But you'll know it wasn't sudden at all. It was the result of years of unseen faithfulness. Every great story starts in obscurity because that's where authenticity is born. It's where you stop chasing applause and start chasing purpose. It's where you stop pretending and start becoming. It's where you build a foundation so firm that when success finally finds you, you won't just shine for a season, you'll shine for a lifetime. So stay faithful in the shadows, keep building in the dark, keep preparing when no one's watching, because one day the curtain will rise and the light will reveal what the darkness helped create. And when that moment comes, you'll understand why the waiting was worth it. Every great story starts in obscurity, but it never ends there. There is a silent thief that robs more dreams than failure ever could. A thief so subtle that most people don't even notice when it's working. It doesn't come dressed as destruction. It comes disguised as comfort, entertainment, urgency, and noise. Its name is distraction. And make no mistake, distraction is the enemy of destiny. You can have all the talent, potential, and divine purpose in the world, but if your focus is scattered, your power is diluted. A distracted life is a delayed destiny. Because destiny doesn't belong to the one who starts fast, it belongs to the one who stays focused. And in this age of endless noise, staying focused has become an act of rebellion. Distraction doesn't always look like chaos. Sometimes it looks like comfort. It whispers, "You've done enough for today," when you know there's more in you. It convinces you to check your phone one more time, to scroll one more minute, to delay one more decision. Distraction doesn't just steal your time, it steals your attention, and attention is the currency of progress. Whatever has your attention controls your direction. Destiny requires direction, and direction demands focus. Every great calling comes with great distractions. The moment you step toward purpose, distractions rise up to pull you away. They won't always come as obvious obstacles. They'll come as opportunities, people as habits, as noise. The question isn't whether distractions will come. It's whether you'll have the discipline to ignore them. Distraction is dangerous because it doesn't destroy immediately. It erodes slowly. It eats away at your consistency, your clarity, your confidence. One day of distraction turns into a week turns into a month, and suddenly the vision that once burned bright becomes a fading memory. You lose momentum not because you lacked ability, but because you lost focus. The enemy of your destiny doesn't need to stop you. He just needs to distract you. If he can keep you busy but unproductive, connected but unfulfilled, informed but uninspired, then he has succeeded. He doesn't have to take your potential, he just has to scatter your focus. Scattered focus leads to wasted purpose. Every destiny is a straight line, but distraction makes it crooked. It adds detours that take you off course. Some people never reach what they were born for, not because they weren't called, but because they kept getting pulled away by things that didn't matter. Destiny isn't lost in one big mistake. It's lost in 1,000 small distractions that feel harmless in the moment but cost everything in the end. That's why focus is sacred. Focus is what keeps your life aligned with your purpose. It's what helps you say no to what's good so you can say yes to what's great. It's the ability to filter the noise and prioritize the necessary. When you're focused, you stop chasing everything and start building something. You stop running after what looks urgent and start moving toward what's truly important. Distraction has become the addiction of this generation. We wake up to screens, we work with screens, and we fall asleep scrolling through screens. Our attention is constantly under attack. We've traded silence for noise, presence for performance, purpose for pressure. But destiny doesn't shout over distraction. It whispers through stillness. You can't hear your calling if you're always surrounded by chaos. You have to protect your focus like your life depends on it. Because it does. Your focus determines your future. Every great leader, creator, or visionary had to fight the war against distraction. They had to learn to separate what's urgent from what's essential. They had to choose discipline over drama. They had to say no to many things so they could say yes to the one thing that truly mattered. Focus is not about doing everything. It's about doing the very right thing with everything you have. It's about aligning your mind, time, and energy with your mission. Distraction, on the other hand, scatters you. It divides your heart and fragments your purpose. You end up tired but not fulfilled, busy but not productive, present everywhere but effective nowhere. One of the greatest lies of distraction is that you can do it all. You can't. Every yes is a no to something else. Every hour spent on what doesn't matter is an hour stolen from what does. If you don't decide what deserves your focus, distractions will decide for you. That's why clarity is power. The clearer you are about your destiny, the easier it is to recognize and reject distractions. Distraction often comes disguised as comparison. You start looking at what others are doing, and suddenly your own path feels too slow, too quiet, too small. Destiny doesn't compete, it completes. Your race is yours alone. Comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20 will only make you lose sight of your own story. Distraction through comparison is one of the most effective ways to derail destiny. Because when your eyes are always on others, your focus drifts from your own purpose. Sometimes distraction shows up as people. Not everyone around you is assigned to your destiny. Some people are assignments and others are attachments. One pushes you forward, the other holds you back. You have to learn to discern the difference. Because the wrong people can drain your energy, distort your vision, and delay your calling. Love people, yes, but guard your purpose. Other times, distraction comes as your past. Memories, mistakes, regrets, all of them whisper, you're not ready. You've failed before. Why try again? But destiny doesn't live in your past. It lives in your next decision. Every minute you spend rehearsing what's behind you is a minute stolen from what's ahead. Let go. Refocus. Move forward. Destiny doesn't demand perfection. It demands attention. It asks, can you keep your eyes on the goal even when everything around you tries to pull you off track? Because focus is not tested when things are easy. It's tested when life is loud, when storms rise, when emotions flare, when distractions multiply. That's when your focus must become unshakable. You can't control everything that tries to distract you, but you can control what you give your attention to. You can choose where your energy flows. You can decide what deserves your time and what doesn't. Every day, you're either feeding your destiny or fueling your distraction. The difference is determined by focus. Destiny rewards those who refuse to be scattered. It blesses those who choose depth over distraction, purpose over popularity, consistency over chaos. You don't need to chase everything that moves. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay still, stay centered, and stay committed. Let others chase trends. You chase truth. Distraction might look harmless now. Every moment you lose to it is a piece of your destiny slipping away. Time wasted is purpose postponed. Don't let temporary temptations steal eternal rewards. Protect your focus as fiercely as you protect your dreams. The path to destiny is narrow. Not everyone can walk with you. Not everything can go with you. You have to be willing to let go of what divides your focus so you can walk freely into what defines your future. Distraction will always call your name. Destiny whispers louder to those who listen closely. So silence the noise, cut the clutter. Focus your heart, because distraction is the enemy of destiny, and your destiny is too precious to waste on things that don't matter. Stay focused, stay faithful, and one day, clarity of your purpose will speak louder than every distraction that tried to stop you. In a world where everyone is talking, where everyone wants to be heard, where opinions echo louder than actions, there is something deeply powerful about silence paired with consistency. There's something magnetic about the person who doesn't have to announce what they're doing, yet their results announce it for them. Because in the end, words might inspire, but work transforms. Declarations might impress, but discipline delivers. That's why the wise have learned one timeless truth. Your works speak louder than your words. We live in an age that rewards visibility more than value. People rush to post every move, every idea, every thought. They want the world to see the progress before it even begins. But real impact isn't built on noise. It's built on effort. You don't have to tell everyone what you're building when you're truly building. You don't have to prove your potential when your progress can prove it for you. Work that speaks louder than words comes from a place of authenticity. It's not motivated by applause, it's driven by purpose. It doesn't seek validation, it seeks growth. There's a quiet confidence in knowing that time will testify for you, that when others are shouting their plans, you are sharpening your skills. Others are rushing to be noticed, you are preparing to be effective, because talk is easy. Talk costs nothing. Anyone can promise greatness, only the discipline can produce it. Words are seeds, but work is water, and without water, nothing grows. The world has too many dreamers who talk and too few doers who deliver. But it's not the noise that changes history, it's the labor. The ones who make a difference are those who let their actions echo longer than their explanations. When you let your work speak, you don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to argue with critics or prove your worth to doubters. Your consistency becomes your evidence. Your excellence becomes your voice. People may question your silence, but they can't deny your success. That's the beauty of quiet progress. It doesn't need validation to move forward. Your work will always speak more honestly than your words ever could. Words can be exaggerated, but results cannot. Words can create illusions, but work creates proof. Words can draw attention for a moment. Work earns respect for a lifetime. When your work speaks, it tells a story of resilience, sacrifice, and integrity, things no speech can capture. Your work do the talking because your actions reveal your beliefs more clearly than your mouth ever will. You can say you're committed, but your work will show it. You can say you're focused, but your results will prove it. You can say you're passionate, but your consistency will confirm it. The world doesn't need more promises, it needs more proof. And proof is born in private, not in public. The hours you spend perfecting your craft, days you spend refining your dream, the nights you spend pushing through exhaustion, those moments build the voice that your work will one day have. That voice won't need social media likes or applause to validate it. It will carry the authority of results. Every great creator, innovator, or visionary has had seasons of silence. They weren't talking about their plans. They were too busy working on them. They weren't chasing attention. They were chasing mastery because they understood that real progress doesn't need promotion. It's self-evident. It announces itself in its own time. There's a reason the most impactful people rarely speak of their next move. They understand the sacredness of preparation. Talking too soon can drain the power from your process. When you tell everyone what you're doing before it's done, you spend your energy defending the idea instead of developing it. But when you stay silent and let your work mature, it will speak with a confidence that no amount of words could replace. People may not understand your silence. They might mistake it for inactivity. Let them. The best part about quiet progress is the surprise it brings. When you finally step into your moment, the same voices that doubted you will fall silent, because nothing silences criticism like results. You don't have to argue for your greatness. Your work will declare it without you saying a word. Letting your work speak louder than your words also teaches humility. It reminds you that success isn't about who talks the most. It's about who shows up the most. It's about who keeps going after failure, who keeps improving when nobody's watching, who stays consistent long after the excitement fades. Humility keeps you grounded in the process, focused on the purpose, and detached from the praise. There's power in quiet commitment. When you stop trying to prove and start trying to produce, your life changes. You begin to move differently. You stop performing for approval and start performing with intention. You stop competing for attention and start creating with authenticity. You stop needing to be seen and start striving to be solid. Because in the long run, it's not who talks the loudest that wins. It's who lasts the longest. Your destiny doesn't respond to your declarations. It responds to your discipline. Every word you speak must eventually be matched by work, or it becomes empty noise. You can declare, I'm going to be great 1,000 times, but until your habits align with that declaration, it remains a dream. Greatness is not about speaking things into existence. It's about working them into existence. When you let your work speak, you build credibility that no one can take away. People might question your motives, your timing, or your methods. They can't argue with what's undeniable. They can debate opinions, but they can't debate results. Results silence gossip. Results outlive criticism. Results speak truth louder than arguments ever could. There's a sacred satisfaction in knowing you didn't need to shout to be heard. You didn't need to prove to be validated. You didn't need to boast to be believed. You simply stayed focused, faithful, and consistent. And when your season came, your work did all the talking. That's the mark of true power, not noise, but evidence. Don't get caught up in trying to convince people of your worth. Don't waste energy defending your dreams to those who can't see them. Keep building. Keep improving, keep producing, because the time you spend talking could be the time you use creating. Creation is the only voice that truly echoes beyond your lifetime. So let your work be your testimony. Let your effort be your introduction. Let your excellence be your explanation. Because when your work speaks, it speaks volumes. It speaks of perseverance when you could have quit. It speaks of integrity when you could have compromised. It speaks of purpose when you could have been distracted. Eventually, those who underestimated you will hear the sound of your success. They won't hear it from your lips. They'll see it in your life. Your story will be told not by what you said, but by what you did. And that story will echo louder, longer, and deeper than any speech you could ever give. So stay focused, stay silent, let your work speak. Because in the end, the world doesn't remember what you said. It remembers what you built. When your work speaks, it won't just make noise. It will make impact. In a world overflowing with noise, opinions, and endless chatter, silence has become one of the rarest disciplines, and yet one of the most powerful. We live in an era where everyone wants to speak, where every moment invites commentary, and where voices rise just to be noticed. But wisdom does not come from the loud. It comes from the still. It emerges not from reaction, but reflection. Because silence, when embraced, becomes the sacred space where wisdom is born. Silence filters wisdom. You see, silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of understanding. It is the quiet moment between thoughts where truth begins to separate itself from illusion. When you choose silence, you choose clarity. You give yourself permission to hear what truly matters. You allow your mind to process before you pronounce, to discern before you decide. The wise understand that words are powerful, but restraint is divine. Many people confuse silence with weakness. They think if you're not responding, you must not have an answer. If you're not fighting back, you must be defeated. But silence is not surrender. Silence is strategy. It's the quiet confidence of someone who knows that time will reveal what words never could. Silence is not about doing nothing. It's about doing the deeper work, listening, observing, and learning. In silence, you learn how to separate emotion from insight. You learn that not every situation deserves your voice, and not every argument requires your defense. The loudest person in the room may command attention. The quietest often holds the truth, because when you stop talking, you start hearing. Not just others, but yourself, even the whisper of wisdom that lives beyond both. Wisdom cannot flow through a noisy mind. Noise blocks clarity, it distorts perspective. When your heart and head are full of clutter, you cannot discern what's right from what's loud. But silence creates space. It allows you to listen, not for what is said, but for what is meant. It teaches you to sense the tone behind the words, the intent behind the actions. Silence gives you insight that noise conceals. There's a reason the wise often pause before they respond. They understand that silence is not a gap, it's a filter. It allows the rush of emotion to settle so that truth can rise to the surface. The impatient speak too soon and regret later, but the patient use silence to refine their response. A pause is not a delay, it's wisdom taking form. Think of silence like a sieve. When life pours confusion, anger, and chaos into you, silence is what catches the unnecessary and lets clarity pass through. Without silence, everything mixes together, truth and opinion, fact and feeling, wisdom and impulse. But when you practice silence, you learn to filter your reactions. You don't just hear, you understand. You don't just know, you discern. Silence also reveals what others are trying to hide. When you stop speaking, you give others room to expose themselves. People reveal their hearts when they fill the quiet. Those who are insecure can't stand silence. They fill it with noise to mask their uncertainty. Those who are grounded know that silence is a friend, not a threat. When you master silence, you gain control of not just your words, but your presence. Your presence speaks volumes when your words are few. A calm mind in a chaotic room commands more power than a shouting voice. Silence demands respect when it's rooted in strength, because silence is not passive, it's intentional. It's the conscious decision to rise above reaction, to see beyond the surface, to let the noise of others expose their level while your silence protects yours. In moments of pain, silence heals. In moments of anger, silence prevents destruction. In moments of confusion, silence restores perspective. That's why silence is not just a discipline, it's medicine. It gives your soul a chance to breathe and your heart a chance to catch up. It's in silence that you remember who you are and what truly matters. Wisdom cannot thrive in constant motion. It needs stillness. It needs space. It needs quiet. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history, some of the most profound insights ever spoken, were born not from constant conversation, but from solitude. People went into silence and came back with revelation. Because silence is not emptiness, it's the soil where wisdom grows. When you live in silence long enough, you start hearing what others miss. You begin to recognize patterns, sense motives, and read energy. You start noticing what people don't say, not just what they do. You begin to pick up on the subtle cues that reveal truth behind the mask. That's the beauty of silence. It sharpens your intuition. It makes your spirit sensitive to the truth that noise tries to bury. Silence teaches patience. It reminds you that wisdom doesn't rush. That understanding takes time. That some answers only come when you stop searching and start stilling. The world teaches urgency, but wisdom teaches timing. Silence aligns you with that timing. It allows life to reveal itself naturally without the interference of your anxiety or need for control. Many lose wisdom because they fear silence. They run from it because silence feels uncomfortable. It forces you to face yourself, to hear your doubts, your thoughts, your inner conflicts. But that's exactly where transformation begins. Silence doesn't just filter what's outside of you, it filters what's within. It helps you separate your real voice from the noise of fear, pride, and insecurity. There's a sacred beauty in learning to be still when everything around you demands a reaction. That's where strength is proven, not in shouting, in staying centered. The one who can remain silent in chaos is the one who has mastered self, because silence teaches self-control. It reminds you that peace is power and not everything deserves a response. When you choose silence, you also learn discernment. You begin to realize that speaking less doesn't mean knowing less. It means knowing what's worth saying. Every word you release carries energy, and if you release it too carelessly, you lose power. Silence teaches you to preserve that power until it can be used purposefully. The wise don't waste words, they invest them. They understand that every conversation has a cost. Silence filters the unnecessary so that when they do speak, their words carry weight. Their voice doesn't have to be loud because it carries authority earned through reflection. That's why when the wise speak, people listen, because silence has already done the refining. So learn to sit in silence, not as an escape, but as an elevation. Don't be afraid to pause. Don't be pressured to respond. Let silence protect you from impulse and guide you into insight. Be the space where your mind declutters and your spirit resets, because the longer you live in silence, the clearer your wisdom becomes. In the end, silence doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It doesn't silence your power. It amplifies it. It doesn't mean you have nothing to say. It means you've learned that not everything needs to be said. Silence filters what's shallow and reveals what's deep. It teaches you that understanding is not about how fast you speak, but how well you listen. So let silence be your teacher. Let it refine your thoughts, sharpen your perspective, and strengthen your spirit. Because in the stillness, truth rises. In the quiet, clarity comes. And when you finally speak, your words will not just make noise, they will carry wisdom. In a world full of distractions, tension has become the rarest currency. Everyone wants your eyes, your ears, your time, your energy. The moment you wake up, the world starts pulling you in 100 directions, notifications, conversations, temptations, and endless noise. But the truth is, no one ever builds anything great in a state of distraction. Every great achievement, every enduring legacy, every unshakable life has been built on one foundational principle: focus builds fortresses. Focus is not just concentration, it's commitment. It's the ability to say, this is what matters most right now, and to give it your full presence. A focused mind becomes like a fortress, guarded from the chaos of the world, protected from the opinions of others, and anchored in purpose. When you learn to guard your focus, you begin to guard your future, Distraction, on the other hand, is the silent destroyer of dreams. It's not always obvious. It's subtle, seductive, and disguised as harmless entertainment or business. Distraction doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, check your phone, look what they're doing. You can rest now, you'll get back to it later. But every time you surrender to it, you chip away at the fortress of your potential. Focus builds strength because it channels your energy in one direction. A river scattered in 1,000 paths loses power. When it's channeled through a narrow stream, it carves canyons and generates force. The same is true of your mind. When your attention is scattered, your potential is diluted. But when it's focused, it becomes unstoppable. Think of focus as your inner architecture. Every goal, every dream, every vision needs structure to stand. Without focus, your plans collapse like sandcastles at high tide. But with focus, your life becomes a fortress, strong, stable, and unshaken by the storms of distraction. You begin to protect what's sacred, your peace, your energy, your purpose, your destiny. When you're focused, you stop chasing everything and start choosing something. You stop trying to please everyone and start pursuing alignment. Focus gives you clarity, and clarity gives you direction. You no longer ask, what should I do? But what truly matters? Because focus eliminates the unnecessary. It cuts through the clutter, the noise, the trivial pursuits that waste years and drain souls. A person with focus becomes dangerous. Not because they are aggressive, because they are disciplined. They don't waste time explaining their dreams or defending their vision. They simply keep building. Every brick they lay is another step toward their fortress. Every decision made with clarity is another wall of strength. While others scatter their energy on everything, the focus builds something that lasts. The fortress of focus is built in silence. It is not built on applause or recognition. It is built when no one is watching. Early mornings, late nights, and quiet sacrifices. Focus doesn't seek attention, it seeks completion. The world may not understand your silence, but one day it will see your results. Because when your focus is unshakable, your progress becomes undeniable. Focus also requires saying no, not just to bad things, but to good things that aren't right for you. Every yes you give to distraction is a no to your destiny. Every unnecessary commitment is a brick stolen from your fortress. That's why focused people often appear distant or different. They're not avoiding life. They're protecting. They've learned that their attention is sacred ground, not a playground. When you build a fortress through focus, you start to live from a place of peace rather than pressure. You no longer react to every demand or chase every opportunity. You move with intention. You think before you act before you speak, and you build before you boast. Focus brings order to chaos. It transforms potential into power. It's easy to admire focused people from afar and assume they're naturally disciplined. But focus is not a gift. It's a decision repeated daily. It's the decision to prioritize purpose over pleasure, consistency over convenience, and progress over popularity. It's the decision to keep showing up even when no one claps, even when the results come slowly. Because the fortress you're building isn't for today. It's for the days when storms come and only the grounded survive. Focus doesn't just build fortresses of success, it builds fortresses of character. It teaches patience when you want speed. It teaches endurance when you want ease. It teaches you to trust the process even when it's invisible. Focus is faith in motion. It's the belief that what you do consistently will eventually create something magnificent. Distraction, by contrast, builds illusions. It makes you busy while moving nowhere. It makes you feel productive while you're actually procrastinating. But focus grounds you. It reminds you that progress is not about movement, it's about direction. You can run fast and still end up lost if your focus isn't fixed. Every time you return to focus, you reinforce your fortress. You strengthen your walls against self-doubt, fear, and comparison. The more you practice focus, the stronger your inner boundaries become. And soon, the noise that once distracted you becomes powerless. You begin to realize that the greatest battles are not around you, they're within you. The war for your destiny is a war for your attention. When you win that war, you build something that lasts. The greatest minds in history were not the loudest, but the most focused. They weren't distracted by competition or noise. They were devoted to their craft. Focus made them masters, and mastery made them unforgettable. They didn't try to do everything. They did one thing with excellence, and that excellence echoed through time. Your focus is your fortress because it guards your purpose. It keeps you rooted when others are drifting. It reminds you of who you are and what you're becoming, and every time life tries to pull you away, your focus pulls you back home to your goals, your growth, and your truth. You must protect your focus as you would protect a treasure. Don't hand it to every distraction that knocks on your door. Don't let gossip, comparison, or fear steal your attention. Your focus is the lock that keeps mediocrity out and destiny in. It's the gate that separates the wandering from the purposeful, the dreamers from the doers. The day you decide to focus completely, your life begins to transform. Your priorities shift. Your energy stabilizes. You stop chasing noise and start creating impact. You stop surviving and start building. Focus turns chaos into clarity and confusion into confidence. It builds a fortress strong enough to withstand criticism, failure, and time. And when that fortress stands tall, when your focus has carved something lasting from the raw material of your potential, you won't need to defend yourself with words. The strength of your work will speak. The solidity of your results will testify. The fortress you've built with years of focus will become your legacy, a monument to the power of discipline, patience, and unwavering attention. So guard your focus, feed it daily, protect it fiercely, because everything valuable in your life, your purpose, your growth, your destiny, depends on it. World will try to pull you in every direction, but the one who stays focused will always outlast the one who is merely busy. Focus is not just how you build success, it's how you build stability. It's how you build peace. It's how you build a life that cannot be easily shaken. Because while distraction builds sandcastles, focus builds fortresses. There is a quiet strength in those who don't react immediately to everything that happens around them. In a world that thrives on instant responses, emotional outbursts, and impulsive reactions, it takes discipline to pause, breathe, and prepare. We are surrounded by noise that pushes us to react. News, opinions, conversation, disappointments, but wisdom whispers, don't react. Prepare, because reaction is driven by emotion, but preparation is guided by intention. Reaction drains your energy, preparation directs it. The truth is, most people lose battles they could have won because they reacted when they should have prepared. They let their emotions dictate their next move instead of their vision. They allowed frustration to speak louder than foresight. Reaction is the reflex of the unready. Preparation is the weapon of the wise. When you prepare, you operate from power, not panic. You don't crumble under pressure because you already fortified your spirit before the storm came. Life will always test you. You will be misunderstood, provoked, challenged, and underestimated. But not every attack deserves your reaction. Sometimes the greatest victory is not in fighting back, it's in building up. You don't have to swing it at every punch life throws. You just have to strengthen your stance. Because those who prepare in silence often rise in moments where others break. Reaction is easy. Anyone can react. Reaction feels good for a moment. It gives you the illusion of control. But it often leaves you weaker, drained, and regretting what you said or did in haste. Preparation, on the other hand, requires patience. It demands discipline. It asks you to step back, reflect, and see beyond the emotion of the moment. Preparation transforms frustration into fuel and chaos into clarity. To prepare means to position yourself for purpose. It means to respond with wisdom instead of reacting with weakness. It means to think beyond today and act with the long game in mind. When you prepare, you stop living from the surface and start operating from depth. You don't get tossed by the winds of every challenge. You anchor yourself in vision. Reaction is impulsive. Preparation is intentional. Reaction looks outward. What happened? Who said it? How it made you feel? Preparation looks inward. How can I grow? What can I learn? How can I become better because of this? When you prepare, you take control of your inner world so the outer world doesn't control you. That's real strength, not the loudness of reaction, but the calm of readiness. Preparation is not passive, it's powerful. It's what happens when you take time to study your patterns, learn from your mistakes, understand your triggers, Preparation allows you to rise above old habits. It breaks cycles. It builds character. When you prepare, you no longer walk into situations blind. You enter them equipped. You don't react to pressure. You anticipate it. You don't fall apart when tested. I challenge you, lean on what you've built in private. There's a reason storms don't scare the builder who laid a strong foundation, because they didn't just dream about safety, they prepared for it. Likewise, life's storms won't shake you if you've already strengthened your faith, your mindset, and your vision. Preparation is your foundation. It's what keeps you steady when everything around you shifts. People who react often live in regret, but those who prepare live in results. When you react, you give power to the problem. When you prepare, you take power back. Reaction creates chaos. Preparation creates confidence. The difference between survival and success often comes down to how well you were prepared before the challenge arrived. Preparation also demands humility. It means acknowledging that you don't have it all figured out, but you're willing to learn. It's not about perfection. It's about readiness. It's about saying, I may not control what comes my way, but I will control how I meet it. That mindset turns obstacles into opportunities. Because when you prepare, even the unexpected becomes manageable. Preparation turns pain into perspective. Every heartbreak, every failure, every disappointment becomes material for your next level if you let it prepare you instead of provoke you. The world teaches you to react in anger. Wisdom teaches you to prepare with understanding. The person who learns in silence becomes the one who leads in season. Preparation converts every loss into a lesson and every delay into development. When you choose to prepare, you step out of emotional chaos and into spiritual stability. You stop chasing validation and start cultivating vision. You stop being pulled by what's urgent and start focusing on what's important. Reaction is temporary, preparation is eternal. What you build in your preparation season will carry you through storms that others drown in. Even nature teaches this principle. The farmer doesn't react when the soil is dry. He prepares for rain. The eagle doesn't panic when the wind changes. It adjusts its wings. Preparation is the invisible strength that separates the wise from the weary. It's the discipline of those who understand that victory is not won in the moment, it's won in the making. Every strong leader, every visionary thinker, every person of depth has mastered the art of preparation. They don't waste time proving themselves, they spend time improving themselves. They don't let pressure dictate their actions. They let preparation shape their strategy. They know that when the moment arrives, it's too late to get ready. You must be ready. Preparation also protects your peace. When you are prepared, you don't panic. You don't fall apart when others do. You don't argue when others provoke you. You simply move with quiet confidence because you know your foundation is firm. You've rehearsed resilience. You've trained your mind to stay calm under fire. That's why prepared people rarely need to shout. They let their composure speak. There's a certain power in being unbothered. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. It's knowing that your energy is too valuable to waste on reaction. You've built yourself for bigger battles, higher goals, and deeper meaning. So when others try to pull you into chaos, you stay anchored in preparation. Because preparation is protection. It guards your purpose from distraction. When you live in reaction, life controls you. When you live in preparation, you control how life affects you. One leads to frustration, the other to fulfillment. Every moment you spend reacting to something you can't change is a moment stolen from what you'd be preparing for. Preparation shifts your focus from what happened to what's next. The person who learns to prepare doesn't crumble under sudden change. They adapt. They rise, because preparation builds flexibility. It teaches you to plan for the unseen and to trust in your ability to adjust. Life rewards those who are prepared, those who panic. When opportunity comes, it doesn't wait for you to get ready. It waits for you to be ready. So let every challenge trigger reaction. Let it trigger preparation. When people disappoint you, prepare to forgive. When life slows down, prepare to grow. When doors close, prepare to knock on new ones. When silence surrounds you, prepare to listen. Because every season of waiting is a season of shaping. Every pause is preparation for purpose. Your strength is not shown in how fast you react. It's revealed in how well you prepare. Others waste energy on noise. You invest yours in readiness. Because when the moment comes, when life demands your best, you won't have to scramble. You'll stand ready, unshaken, unmoved, equipped. So remember this, don't react, prepare. When you prepare, you build discipline, you build depth, you build destiny. Reaction is momentary, but preparation is mastery. And when life tests you again, you won't need to fight for control. You'll simply stand firm, knowing that your preparation already won the battle long before it began. In a world obsessed with speed, where everyone wants instant results and overnight recognition, the word faithful often sounds outdated. People want success without commitment, harvest without planning, glory without growth. But the truth remains, timeless success finds the faithful. It doesn't chase the talented, the loud, even the gifted. It finds the consistent. It finds the one who keeps showing up long after excitement fades, who keeps believing even when nothing seems to move. Faithfulness is the soil where true success takes root. Faithfulness isn't glamorous. It rarely gets applause. It's not about big moments. It's about small, repeated choices. It's about doing what you said you would do, even when no one is watching. It's about showing up for your dream when you feel tired, unseen, or unappreciated. The faithful don't wait for perfect conditions. They work through imperfect ones. They don't need to feel inspired to stay committed. Their conviction is stronger than their emotions. You see, anyone can start something. Anyone can be passionate for a season. The faithful endure through every season. When life gets hard, they stay. When doors close, they stay. When rewards delay, they stay. Because they understand that success isn't a moment, it's a pattern. It's not one great act, but a lifetime of small, faithful steps that lead somewhere extraordinary. Faithfulness is the invisible force that separates dreamers from doers. It's easy to talk about goals, to make promises, to post plans, but faithfulness is proven in the doing when it's inconvenient, when it's unseen, when it's slow. Faithfulness is doing your best when no one claps, because you're not performing for people, you're preparing for purpose. Many people quit right before their breakthrough, not because they lack potential, but because they lacked patience. They couldn't stay faithful in the waiting. They gave up when it didn't happen fast enough. But success doesn't arrive by speed. It arrives by steadiness. Faithful don't rush, they trust. They understand that the process may take time, but every season of consistency is a seed planted for tomorrow's harvest. Faithfulness is not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's the refusal to let circumstances dictate your commitment. It's about doing your part even when the results seem small, because the faithful know something others forget. Small things done consistently become great things over time. Every day you stay faithful to your purpose, you build momentum that time cannot erase. Faithfulness also reveals character. When you're faithful in small things, you prove that you can be trusted with greater things. Many want promotion without preparation, recognition without responsibility. But success tests character. It looks for stability before opportunity. Success doesn't bless the impatient. It blesses the trustworthy. Because faithfulness builds integrity, and integrity is what sustains success once you reach it. There's something powerful about the person who keeps showing up, even when it hurts, even when it's quiet, even when no one sees the progress. Because faithfulness is not for the faint-hearted, it's for the disciplined. It's for those who believe that consistency beats intensity every time. Anyone can give 100% once, but the faithful give their best every day, whether it's noticed or not. Success finds the faithful because faithfulness creates momentum. Every small action builds upon the last. Every day of showing up lays another brick. And one day, what seemed like nothing becomes something. That's how success works. It sneaks up on those who have been quietly working, planting, and believing while everyone else was chasing shortcuts. Faithfulness also refines your purpose. It teaches you to value the process, not just the product. It reminds you that true fulfillment comes not from achieving quickly, but from growing steadily. In every delay, the faithful learn something new. Patience, humility, endurance, resilience. These qualities aren't learned in success. They're forged in faithfulness. Even when you feel unseen, faithfulness keeps you grounded. The world might overlook your effort, but destiny doesn't. Every act of faithfulness is recorded in the unseen. The hours you spend improving your craft, the nights you stay up working, the sacrifices no one knows about, they all count. Because life rewards not just talent, but trustworthiness. The faithful may be silent, but they are never forgotten. Faithfulness teaches you to depend on principles rather than feelings. Feelings fluctuate, but faithfulness holds steady. You won't always feel motivated, but you can remain committed. You won't always see progress, but you can keep planting. Because faithfulness is not about how fast you move, it's about not stopping. The faithful don't measure their success by speed, but by endurance. There's something unshakable about a faithful heart. Life can throw storms, setbacks, or silence their way, but they stand firm because their consistency isn't tied to conditions. It's tied to conviction. The faithful understand that the path to success is not straight. It's full of turns, pauses, and challenges. But every challenge becomes training. Every delay becomes development, and every test builds trust in the process. Success also finds the faithful because faithfulness builds reputation. Over time, people come to depend on those who are dependable. Opportunities are drawn to those who finish what they start. When you're faithful, your name becomes synonymous with reliability, and reliability is rare. It's what sets you apart in a world full of broken promises and unfinished projects. Faithfulness doesn't seek attention. It earns respect. It doesn't need to be seen. It needs to be solid. You don't need to advertise your consistency. Your results will reveal it. The faithful don't talk about being great. They quietly become it. Because greatness is never about one big moment. It's about a lifetime of steady moments stacked together with purpose. When success finally arrives, as it recognizes the faithful. It knows who endured the hard seasons, who kept working when the applause stopped, who stayed steady when others gave up. The faithful don't stumble into success. They are found by it, because faithfulness attracts the opportunities that instability repels. Faithfulness also builds gratitude. When you've labored long for something, you value it more deeply. The journey shapes your perspective, humbles your spirit, and strengthens your resolve. Success that comes without struggle often fades, but success built on faithfulness lasts. Because the same patience that brought you there will help you sustain it. When you look at anyone truly successful, not just in achievements, but in peace, purpose, and integrity, you'll find a story of faithfulness behind their rise. Years of showing up, years of waiting, years of doing the hard work when no one was watching. Their success was not sudden, it was cumulative. Faithfulness was the thread that tied every season together. Success finds the faithful because faithfulness aligns you with timing. It keeps you moving when others stop. It keeps your heart ready when opportunity knocks. When you're faithful, you don't have to chase what's yours. It will eventually find you because you've proven ready to handle it. Faithfulness is not just preparation, it's magnetism. It draws the right doors to the right person at the right time. So if you're in a season where it feels like your effort goes unnoticed, stay faithful. If you're working hard and seeing little return, stay faithful. If it feels like no one appreciates your consistency, stay faithful. Because faithfulness always pays, sometimes not immediately, but always eventually. Your job is not to predict the moment success will come. Your job is to remain faithful until it does. Keep watering the seeds. Keep showing up. Keep believing. Because the same ground that looks barren today will one day bloom with abundance. Success doesn't come to those who wait idly. It comes to those who wait working. It comes to those who refuse to quit, who keep building, who stay faithful even when the world moves on. The reward will find you because success always finds the faithful. So hold your ground. Keep your commitment. Stay consistent. The world might move fast, but faithfulness will always outlast. And when the time is right, your faithfulness will speak for you louder than words, stronger than luck, and brighter than any shortcut ever could.